Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Penik, and we've got a Ravens preview without the Ravens preview. Dan Duggan joining the show for about 30 minutes, talking about the current state of the Giants, and then we'll bring on Jolly Olive. You can see Jolly Olive right now. He's not allowed to talk right now, but he'll join us for segments. Justin, good interview with Duggan. Didn't stray off topic on the things that really mattered. Got some new information out of it. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Yeah, check out the interview with Duggan. It's good. Figured that we would start doing that rather than talking about whatever game is going to be played. Really funny update today from the beat reporters that the Giants went 0 for
17 in their offensive drill. Stop moving, Jolly.
It was told, Jolly, stop moving.
But there was wind.
Sure, there was wind. Yeah, and that's why Jolly was moving, and that's why the Giants couldn't complete the ball. So yeah, good interview with Duggan. Maybe a
hopefully
Tony
it's not
Award
too
winner
windy
again?
for a plane,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Now I will say on our preview pod, we said that we had a guy who's going to do the plane. His wife told him that he can't spend $2,000 on a plane, which I understand his wife's point of view. I'm disappointed in her, but I understand her point of view. So if that stopped you from being the guy who did the plane, do the plane. Though, and by the way, I'll tell you this right now to our listeners, because all the reporters thought we did the plane, so they came into us. If you do a plane, you'll get articles written about you. You'll get interviewed, so maybe you get some publicity for your business or whatever. So don't be afraid to do that. I know people will whine and cry about it. But hey, we've made some money off of it. Some nice T-shirts. How about that?
Yeah, there's shirts on our store. Go check that out.
Yeah, we're profiting, baby. Do we have anything else before we kick it to Dan Duggan?
No, I would like to maybe talk about something, or would you like to talk about something?
All right, here comes Dan Duggan, and here comes first Blitzball.
It is finals time here in the warehouse. Blitzball Battle 5 presented to you by DraftKings. Love yous. Looking for a first ever Blitzball banner and a Warehouse Cup championship on top of it. Taking on the tandem of Shelfie and Trevor Plouffe.
I'm looking for Love Yous to wrap this package up. Nicky Cass has been smashing it around a little bit. He has also found something on the mound, but I saw something from the rotten team last game out. Shelfie's in the running for MVP.
I think we have the two leading contenders for MVP. We got Shelfie on one side and Dalton Feely in the other.
I'm going to have to go with Rotten because I have not picked Love Yous at all this tournament. It seems to be going pretty well for them.
I'm going to pick your squad.
Oh.
I think you will be helping them celebrate a Warehouse Cup championship at the end of the day. It is the season finale of our franchise series 2024. Blitzball Battle 5, presented to you by DraftKings.
All right, thanks, Blitzball. Here's Dan Duggan. I would now welcome on Dan Duggan of The Athletic. I think we usually don't do interviews in season, but I cannot give you the same talking points over and over again every week on what I think of Schoen and Daboll, so we got to hear from somebody else. Dan, welcome back on the show. First question, I want to come at you hot. Do you think they get fired once the season's over? Not how does ownership feel right now, just your prediction. Do you think they survive this?
Oh, wow, you are coming in hot. I think Daboll, there's no way he's back. I don't think there's any way you can keep Schoen, but to hedge on the way you word that question, I don't think ownership wants to fire Schoen, but if you're holding my feet to the fire right now, I think they're both gone. I don't see how you could possibly justify bringing them back. 2-15, losing 12 straight potentially to end the season, going completely backwards here in year 3. I don't see how they're back. But yeah, that's why I have to hedge it. No one's told me they're definitely gone. I just literally can't see any way Daboll's back, and then Schoen is the one that's more up in the air.
So have you heard anything I know you and some other people hinted about if Thanksgiving goes badly, to me it'd be crazy to let Joe Schoen hire another head coach, with the situation they're in. Do you think there's any way that there is not a clean split from both of them and they keep one and get rid of the other?
Well, again, I think that if it's one or the other, there's no way Daboll outlasts Schoen. And you can listen. I can make a case that Daboll, maybe not so much recently, but in their overall regime has done a better job. The 2020 success was way more attributable to Daboll. But I can't even think of it. I'm sure there are examples of a head coach outlasting a GM and especially being they came in at the same time. It's just that timeline would be really wacky. I would just say based on precedent, you would think if anyone's going to survive beyond the other, it'd be the GM, just because that's typically how these things go. I just don't see any way Daboll can survive this. I mean, he's the one out there every day and, the face of this futility. And one thing John Mara did say, I asked him at the owners meetings, didn't really expect an honest answer. Figured he'd just kind of give like a owner speak type answer, but he's really not capable of that, which is nice. I asked, do you look at these guys as a package deal? And he said no. He said they have different jobs, different responsibilities. Basically, they'll be evaluated separately. So maybe in his mind, he could say, listen, we got to change the coach because the product on the field is this bad. But, the way this things work, Joe Schoen, you see him up there and I love how the broadcasts are showing him weekly now, and he looks more and more depressed as they show him. But usually right to his right in those camera footage is Tim McDonald. So he is, he's got ownership's ear more than the coach, who's kind of dealing with, everything on the kind of ground level basis. So, I mean, listen, if it wouldn't be the first time a GM is probably whispering in ownership's ear, like, man, I've given this guy a lot to work with here. I can't help that on fourth down he did this, or they don't execute and they don't tackle. Because if you're Joe Schoen, if you try and present what that case would be, it have to just be the 2024 draft class. And I think it's gotten a little overhyped, but that is the one thing that he could sell. Like, listen, because you hear the narratives come out from either friendly voices in the media or just in-house people where it's like, this notion that it took him so long to get his scouting staff in place, that
drives me nuts.
It's a ludicrous claim. He had 2 top 7 picks. You think the area scout told Joe Schoen to take Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal? He came in and said he wasn't working at a gas station and got hired. He was an assistant general manager for an NFL team. When he got hired, he said he had done the first 4 rounds already. So again, I don't think Wan'Dale Robinson was a recommendation of the Southeast Scout and Josh Azudu and Cordell Flott. So those are the picks that have been whiffs. Mm-hmm. That was him. The next year, by that point, his staff had been there for a full calendar year. The scouting process doesn't really you're not doing freshman guys now. So that class was picked by his scouts, or, he informed by his scouts. And then, yes, year 3, you can say maybe the system was operating better. I mean, whatever. I mean, guys have good drafts, guys have bad drafts. I don't know that they've suddenly discovered some secret formula here in year 3 that's going to, every year now, there's going to be hitting home runs. So, but that was a long answer to my point being that, Schoen could present a case to say, this is why I should stay, which is separate from Daboll. And I think ownership could be more receptive to it just because this whole idea of changing everything in the front office, which again, I think is overstated. Okay, he modernized the draft room. Okay, well, now it's modern. The next GM could come in and know how to work the computers. So I don't get, some of the surface level defenses of why you keep Schoen kind of fall flat to me. Because I think if you probe one level deeper, it's okay, cool. He had to inherit, the magnets from Dave Gettleman. Okay, now it's modern. So whoever comes in would be able to pick it up from there if that's the decision you want to make.
I like the image of the new GM coming in and being like, "What the fuck are all these computers doing here?"
Where's the power button on this thing?
Justin, you had something on the locker room, right?
Yeah. Let's instead of the conversations in the front office, let's bring it down to the locker room where you're at. I can imagine the locker room right now is like the jokes that you hear in corporate America about the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, where nothing's getting done and you're just anxiously awaiting to get out of there and you're acting like you're working. The only difference in football is if you don't really care about working and if you're trying to just wait for the season to end, you get smacked in the mouth if you don't really care what happens on the football field. So, is the locker room kind of like that right now, where we're just waiting for that season to end and oh, please, I need it to end right now? How does it compare to maybe past regimes where you've been there, where people have gotten fired, or maybe they've been able to salvage some stuff and then regroup and recoup for another year? So what's that locker room like? What's the vibe like right now down there?
Yeah, well, I'll start with, I was in there Wednesday, and guys need name tags. I don't even know there's 10 new guys on the roster in the last week. I'm like, wait, and then not even just guys on the practice squad. It's I couldn't pick Corey Durden out of a lineup other than we actually used him, which is kind of unfortunate for him, as the face of sadness on our picture from Sunday's game. They just happened to find a particularly sad looking photo of Corey Durden, so I can identify him. But yeah, so that part that happens too late in the season when everyone's going on IR and there's so much roster shuffling. There's a lot of new guys in there, so I couldn't even tell you what they think about anything. But obviously, you're talking more about the core guys. Football's funny because it's a long week, so as bad as things are on Sunday, by the time we're back in there on Wednesday, the spirits are typically kind of back up. They don't walk around. Like I think fans probably, wear the losses harder. Like they probably go to work on Monday with their head down and like, pick their Giants hat, and don't wear it and put it in the closet. The players, I think, are a little more, it's a business. They get it. So what I've always said, and this almost maybe ties to a tanking question, if you're going to ask one, but like, I think that's the topic that looms over thing. And I think it's kind of foolish, but I will say tanking doesn't happen on Sunday. Like, Jason Pinnock isn't going to like not tackle a guy because he wants the Giants to lose. Like that, obviously it doesn't happen. But what I do think does happen is our guys in there on Tuesday for as long as they would be if the team was, 11-2 and staring down the barrel of a playoff chase. Our guys getting that extra body work on Wednesday night, or are they going, just going to dinner, not doing anything crazy or reckless, but just like, I don't need that massage this week, or Friday when the practice ends, they can kind of leave. Our guys jetting out the door, or are they sticking around to have that extra meeting with the position coach? And I think I can't answer that unilaterally across the board. But my sense from this team and my sense from every other team I've covered is that stuff is what goes by the wayside. It's like guys are still there, and when practice is on, like they're more or less practicing as hard, but you're not kind of doing that extra stuff. And so as far as the vibe in the locker room right now, like the one change I've noticed is there's a lot more card playing all of a sudden. Like a lot of the veteran players are sitting in the middle of the room playing cards. And now again, like this is after practice, not like as if they'd be doing anything football related. It's not quite Golden Tate's golf club sitting in his locker, which was like such a visual that, of course, obviously Joe Judge highlighted in that epic rant. But so I don't know if that says anything. It's just, if you're asking me like what's different, they're just kind of seem to be just hanging out playing cards. But again, like these guys have to get through this season somehow. So maybe that's just a release for them. Instead of playing pool, they're playing cards, whatever. Like again, I don't want to make too much of that. It's a 45-minute snippet of their day right after practice. They're allowed to relax. But yeah, I don't think guys are, checked out as like Brian Burns, I think is a good example. Like he's an established player. He's been banged up. He could tap out. I'm sure if he said, listen, my groin is just, I need to shut down for a week or for the rest of the season. And he hasn't done that. I think most of these guys operate that way. They have professional pride. That's why I think the injury stuff too, where everyone's like, oh, they're tanking. It's like, well, Trey Hawkins didn't want to break his back, like literally break his back. And Theo Johnson didn't want to break his foot. Are there instances where a guy's maybe 80% and he would have, gotten shot up and done God knows what to his body to play if the situation was different? Yeah, probably. But I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, it's this guy who's, milking it. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I think, football players get injured, and I think the injuries are just mounting. And I do think it's funny. You look at the injury report, the Ravens has like 4 names on it, and they're all like full participants. And then the Giants have that CVS receipt. But I just think that's, losing season. It just kind of mounts. And I don't know I think that's almost like subconscious.
All right, before we keep chatting with Dan Duggan, I got to talk to you about Captain Morgan because today's episode is sponsored by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL. The NFL season is where legends are born on and off the field. Some are of last-second plays that turn the tide and change a team's destiny, while others are friends who follow the captain from within them to make a regular get-together into the stuff of legends. So grab your crew, grab a captain, and a cola, make it a story to remember, because legends start when you follow the captain. Visit followthecaptain.com for more. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. You will be glad you did, and you'll be glad that you keep listening to this Dan Duggan interview.
Is there any issues with Schoen and Daboll in the locker room?
Yeah, listen, I think that's been a topic that came up early in the year. Like, I don't think, I think Jordan had the thing that maybe on your podcast where when aggregated, like the players don't like Joe Schoen. Like, yeah, listen, he's drives a hard bargain at the negotiating table. He's done some super cutthroat things. I think a lot of players, looked at him sideways. Like, we can all sit here talking about positional value. They looked at it like, wait, our best player on the team, you let walk for nothing to a rival. And then, listen, most of these guys didn't watch Hard Knocks, I bet. But if they've caught wind, like again,
they've seen the clips that have been shared 20 different times.
And it felt like he was kind of disrespectful to him. Again, we can sit there, fans will probably listen. It's like, oh, what do you mean disrespectful? But like, you have to look at it from the player's perspective. They know who he was and how important he was to the locker room. So stuff like that. So yeah, like there's definitely, I think that feeling exists. But I also think that's case by case. Like, I don't like Brian Burns has a problem with Joe Schoen because like he made me a very, very rich man. But I do think there's stuff, like the Nick McLeod stuff. It was one of those moves. It was like an unforced error. Like, why are you going to ruffle feathers for $1 million in cap space? And it's also ironic that their cornerbacks have been decimated by injuries. They could probably use a guy who's at least an NFL caliber backup. That's neither here nor there. So yeah, I don't think Shane is necessarily well liked in the locker room. I don't think that matters. I don't think GMs need to be well liked. I think honestly, usually it's like the coach is the good cop and the GM's the bad cop. And I think actually, if anything, Shane's erred in trying to blur that line. Like he does try to like be around the players. Like if I'm the GM, like I'm upstairs. Like let the coach handle the day-to-day stuff. You'll see like Shane like always very present on the practice field in the locker room. I don't think that benefits him in any way, and it probably maybe makes the feelings a little harder when it's like, wait, I thought we're buddies, and then you're trying to cut my pay or whatever. As far as Daboll, I mean, there's always that lost the locker room debate. Like, I don't think players like dislike Brian Daboll. Like, I mean, I think he runs a very player-friendly program. I think you could probably make a case too much in some instances, like where I think just guys are allowed to get away. There's a lot of rope and guys are allowed to kind of get away with a lot. I mean, with Malik Neighbors, like some of the, let's say, bad habits he's shown have not been curtailed, whether that's on the field or, in the locker room after the game, have not curtailed, in any way. Deonte Banks, same thing, a young player who, probably they, would benefit maybe from a little harder coaching, and it just doesn't exist. So I don't know why players would dislike him. It's like the opposite. Like when Joe Judge, when things went downhill, it's like, well, man, this guy is a hard ass. We practice really hard. We're always in pads, that type of stuff. So it's a lot easier to turn on him. Whereas at Daboll, I'm sure there's guys who probably aren't totally bought in. Like, oh yeah, this guy's going to lead us to, back to the promised land. But I think on a day-to-day basis, he does a good job of keeping those relationships in a good place. Because again, there's really no reason to dislike him in terms of like the day-to-day. He doesn't drive them that hard. And I think he does a pretty good job of relating to players.
Yeah, and something that we've been talking about the last couple weeks, and I think this is purely kind of just like speculation, and also you look at the results of the players and the lack of development that's happening, you have to question kind of the coaching. And you talked about on the practice field how the guys, maybe that's where the tanking happens, right? Not giving effort in the practice field, not having that extra meeting with the position coaches, like you said. I think Brian Daboll's lack of attention to detail and lack of, doing like emphasizing those little things, I don't think that's an issue that's necessarily maybe related to just this year. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a valid criticism. I think they messed up some easy things too. I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking, but like just some of the roster management stuff where it's like, because I mean, there's stuff that goes on in an NFL operation that's so complex and there's so many layers to it. But then there's just basic stuff where like how'd you mess that up? Like,
yeah.
And I
always
go back
situation,
to
yeah.
What's that?
Like the kicker situation over the last 2 years.
And again, like player evaluation is complicated, but I go back to just some of the decisions they've made where it's like, and the one I always go back to because it's the most simple one, and I know you guys were there at training camp last year. Like Eric Ray couldn't return punts, and they made him the punt returner. Like you were there every day, and like he just couldn't field punts. Like it was a struggle daily, and so we're sitting there watching it and like, oh, this doesn't look good. And then obviously he gets out in the season and it's a disaster. And then like that's just a small example, but it's the most basic one because like Josh Azudu, like none of us thought he could be a tackle. They thought he could last year. It didn't work. I shouldn't say it didn't work out. It was a disaster. And then they came back in this year and they put Josh Azudu back there and then they get one start and then they yanked him because it was like, oh wait, he can't do this. It's like, wait, we shouldn't be able to see these things before you, or even the quarterback situation.
It makes you feel crazy sometimes where it's like, am I really... Are they just missing that up that bad, or am I being an asshole?
And that's what I mean. That's why I go to the gray one because like I'm not a better evaluator of offensive line talent than guys who do it professionally, but I can tell if a guy can catch a ball or not, and he couldn't do it. And then the quarterback one's the last one I'll make. It's like you had Drew Lock as the number 2 all season, and then when it came time to go to the number 2, you went to number 3. It's like, oh, okay. And then remember there was all those, a lot of narratives came out there like, oh, he was so much better and Drew Lock missed all this valuable time and they want to look at DeVito for the future. And then DeVito misses one game and they stick with Lock. It's like, wait, what? Like they just make these decisions that I'm like, wait, that doesn't even make sense. And if you think the initial decision, like, all right, maybe they're right here, but then they reverse. So that's the stuff that's like it's really like hard to feel good. Like the word that always gets used with Shane is process. Like, okay, he gets like positional value, but like I would say the process on basic decisions sometimes is what's most head scratching. And that's where it's like what's going on here? What's missing behind the scenes?
Justin, you got something on the Bowen and Kafka dynamic?
Yeah. I want to get some of your thoughts too, and on even the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator dynamic this year, where you certainly look at this team and you don't say the defense is the problem, but I don't necessarily know if Shane Bowen has been like this advantage. Like last year, Wink Martindale forcing all those turnovers. you can say like the defense brought an advantage to that team last year. Whereas the defense this year, they haven't sacked the quarterback that much over the last couple of weeks. And we basically know that Kafka's gone. Like, his contract is up. We know that he's wanted to get out of the building. So I almost feel like they're forced to keep Bowen, because if they do keep Daboll, you can't be looking for an offensive coordinator and a defense coordinator after Daboll's coming back of back-to-back losing seasons. So that basically feels like, again, if they keep Daboll, that offensive coordinator is an in-house promotion automatically because Daboll's going to keep calling plays. So talk to me about this offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator dynamic, and I know it's a very underutilized talking point this year, but where are you at it right now if they retain Daboll?
No, and that's why when you start playing out this, what scenarios could they keep Daboll? And that's just another example. So, yeah, because the idea that Bowen has definitely become the scapegoat. You see that everyone's dumping on Bowen. Meanwhile, the offense that Daboll runs is 32nd in the league. That one raises your eyebrows a little bit. But let's just say, yeah, Bowen's been terrible. They're gonna fire him, and you're gonna keep Daboll and let him hire a third DC in 3 years. Like that, you just can't get there. I can't get it would be one thing if he had success and decides I want to make a change. But when the team is going in this direction, how are you gonna keep the head coach and let him keep changing the most prominent people under him? Especially when the Wink dynamic fell apart, not really based on football reasons at all. It was much more personality driven on both sides, but still personality driven. And then you kind of ended up with your third or fourth or fifth choice, whatever Shane Bowen was on the order, because of how bad things went with Wink.
Right.
So then, oh, wow, our fourth choice isn't a great DC. Yeah, no kidding. Maybe if things had ended better with Wink, or, he had left because he wanted to go to Michigan, whatever, and you hire, whoever would have been the top choice, the guy who went to Tennessee, I always forget his name. One of you guys will know it.
Denard Wilson.
Yes, if that was their top choice, maybe he comes here if things were in a better place last year. They weren't. You had to settle for Bowen. So again, I think I think the scapegoating him is kind of crazy. Listen, there are things to pick apart. He has not done a great job. I think the biggest problem is lack of talent. So this goes back to the Shane thing. The run defenses were just fine in Tennessee. Wink's run defenses were elite in Baltimore. Yep. All of a sudden they get here and they can't stop the run. Is that because they forgot how to coach run defense and tackling, or it's because they don't have very good players? So yep. I think it's fair to have issues with Bowen and not think he's the greatest DC in the world. But if they were to somehow say all right, Daboll's back, but we're getting a new DC, what faith would you have that they would be able to go out and get a top DC? I think Shane Bowen is probably a league average DC. Again, you look at this defense this year, it hasn't been the problem, or it hasn't been the biggest one. Again, the offense is, far more of an anchor on this team. And then on offense, yeah, listen, I think we all knew that the Kafka thing was BS last year, just for optics. We can't wipe out all three coordinators. So you take a guy who was the OC for 31st or 32nd scoring offense last year, promote him, give him a new title, but then also take away the very duty that his job entails. So that was just such a joke. And so I think we all knew Kafka's not the type to rock the boat. So he kind of sucked it up. I'm sure he got a nice little pay raise to do so. But he's been the forgotten man. What does he even do? It's Shea Tierney coaches the quarterback. Daboll runs the offense, calls the plays. So I can't see any way Kafka would be back. If somehow Daboll does survive, I think Kafka would say, listen, I was the good soldier last year. I want out of here. I can go be an OC somewhere. If I'm going to have this kind of nothing role, let me go back to Kansas City and work with Andy Reid. And then, yeah, so as far as who would replace him, I think it would just be Shea Tierney would be kind of the obvious in-house guy, because then Daboll would still call plays. Hard to get excited about that. So that's why I think with the coordinator stuff, it's you start getting into that. It's wait, why are we keeping the head coach again if we're going to have to tear down the coordinators again?
You wrote a piece last year, speaking of coordinators, on Daboll after the Wink, the whole situation. There's obviously people who gave quotes for that are still in the building. Has there at least been a better relationship with Daboll and the people that aren't players in there, or has it gotten worse, or is it more the same?
That's a good question. There isn't the Wink volatile personality to have they the blow ups last year where what was it, Daboll went into the defensive meeting rooms who called me a clown, basically ready to fight whoever said that, and no one said it was them. There hasn't been that, at least to my knowledge. Sometimes this stuff comes out kind of really late in the season when people know they're not going to be back. The lips get a little looser. So I can't sit here right now and say I'm sitting on some smoking gun, crazy stuff that's happened behind the scenes. But again, there's still 4 weeks left. I'm still not closing the book on that being the case. And maybe the stuff that happened in September, I don't know about yet. Because again, a lot of that's reporting I did it came in like, after basically that Dallas game last year or the Jay Glazer report, that's when things really kind of started coming out more. So there's still a chance. I don't know though, just because again, I think Wink was a unique personality. I don't see Shane Bowen as that type of guy. I haven't gotten a chance to know him very well either though. I'm sure there's tensions in the building. Like I know Daboll comes from that Belichick Saban tree where like he's really hard on his assistants. Like it's not like Judge level where I think the assistants really resented Judge because they worked like till 3 a.m. every day and he was just constantly, kind of browbeating them. Whereas I think with Daboll, he wasn't like that initially, but I think as the losses piled up last year, it got to that point, kind of got toxic. And I again, I haven't heard as much this year. I can't imagine it's gotten better. I would assume with the losses piling up, it's probably not a great work atmosphere for his assistants. But like I said, as far as like nailing down specifics or anecdotes, not there yet, but certainly something that's on my radar for the next couple of weeks.
Do you think the plane really bothers Mara, or is that just us clinging to something because of the whole, the talking point of like empty seats and shit like that?
No, it definitely bothers him. Like this, I mean, he is like probably the most transparent guy, in this whole organization. Like, what bothers him. Like he's very sensitive to the public perception. Like I'm sure, because like the social media stuff and even stuff we write on a daily basis probably doesn't, because it's every day. I'm sure he's numb to that. But when you have like a big thing like that, or even that little time when they're in the crosshairs with ESPN, it's like you're leading like Stephen A's show every day. Like I'm sure he didn't love that. But the plane, yeah, I think that was a good note for whoever played it, because it really does kind of cut him to his core, because it brings up, the darkest moment, like basically in his life as a Giants, owner slash at that point, I guess just like a family member of ownership. But like that, yeah, that type of thing, because it's one thing to just have a bad product. It's another thing to become like a punchline. And I think that's the type of stuff that's an easy clip. Everyone's showing that. I'm sure Led's, Sports Center or whatever. Like it's on all the shows. So it's not just under the radar. And I think that's where he gets more sensitive to that. And it really burns him up. So that's what I think that's always the thing. If you're trying to keep your job here, it's like just suck quietly. Yeah. And like that's what didn't happen at the end of like Judge's tenure. Like I really think if Joe Judge just like kept his mouth shut, like he probably could have maybe got to year 3. But when he started going off the rails with the press conference and the QB sneaks became a laughingstock, it became untenable. And that's one thing I think I've noticed with Daboll. He like probably bites a hole through his lip, but he doesn't say anything in press conferences. I think he learned, from the mistakes of his predecessor, and he won't give that soundbite that's gonna lead First Take and Sports and everything. Like he's very conscious of that. So I think it might not matter, but I think that's at least a smart play by him, because I think that is the stuff that does move John Mara, whether it should or shouldn't. I think that's just how he's wired.
I enjoyed yesterday watching the press conference when he was telling you guys about the Locke injury and Tommy DeVito, and even that he's just like pausing between every 5 words. Like, I don't even want to tell you guys this.
Yeah.
So I can kind of tell by how this interview went, but I do want to ask you: do you think that they should be fired? And if so, what would be the main reason outside of just possibly losing 12 straight?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think, yeah, as you said, my answers have probably demonstrated where I'm coming from. Like, and I'm not trying to do the like it's weird to like write like they should be fired. Like, I don't know, because if they're back, then it's like, all right, well, like, so I mean, again, I think I present the case pretty strongly in which way I believe. But so if you're asking me what I think should happen, yeah, like, I think they should be fired, because I mean, I don't think it's that complicated. It's like, let's put it this way. You have to, I turn it around. Like, what's the case to keeping them? Because like people, the big one is continuity. It's like, what are you maintaining? Like, what's like, it's literally getting worse every year to like historically bad levels this year. Yep. And so it's like, if there was a coach on the market who's gonna, you just say, all right, we got to get a new coach in here. And you told me his record for the last 2 years was what, 8 and what the hell is 8 and 21? Is that what Daboll would be the last 2 years?
11, 8 and 26.
Yeah. What it's,
I guess now it's 22.
Yeah. So all right, yeah, we'll get to the end. We'll fast forward these last 4. But yeah, no one's gonna say, oh, let's hire the guy who had an 8 and 26 record the last 2 years. Although it is remarkable when you think back that they hired Pat Shurmur. Like, what a wild hire that is. The guy was 9 and 23 as a head coach, had like 0 charisma, had a little bit of a nice little offense in Minnesota, and like, yeah, that's the guy. Like, that's wild. But anyways, a coach with that record, there'd be no reason to go out and hire him. So what's the sense in keeping that? Like, again, you like people are like, oh, the continuity. Like, you have to believe there's a chance you can do better. And I do think it's probably unfortunate, because I think Daboll has, like I said, I think he's done a better job than Shane. But again, that claim's getting harder to make as we get deeper into his tenure. It's getting worse.
And I'll say this when it comes to Daboll is, if you did give Daboll the right quarterback, I watched the film, bro. I think he would do a good job.
Yeah.
Where I can't make the argument is like, well, if Schoen gets the quarterback, they're probably, a while. It's like, okay, that's every team in the NFL. And you're just granting this guy that if only he does the hardest thing to do in NFL GMing, then his roster would be halfway decent. Like that's not a ringing endorsement for me.
Right. And I hear the film point of Daboll, like, oh, he schemes guys open. It's like, okay, cool. He's the head coach. Like you're not hiring to be the OC. Like that. I don't doubt that he's a great offensive mind and with the right, pieces in place, but we're 3 years in and you're about to have your second year where you're last or second to last in the league in scoring. Like, so like even the offensive part's a really hard sell to me. And yeah, with Schoen, I think it's harder to fire a GM in 3 years, but I think Shane's done a worse job. So I think it's an easier decision. Cause like you said, okay, so you go into this offseason, they're going to have to take a quarterback. If they have a top
that's crazy. Having a GM where there's no option other than just taking a quarterback is such. The process is what some people praise. Well, now the process stinks because you're in a situation where you have to do something no matter what you really feel about these guys.
Right, because you could have a GM come in and say, "Listen, all right, like I know we got the second pick, and I don't love Ward or Sanders, so I want to take Travis Hunter, or I want to trade back, and yeah, we're gonna take it on the chin this year. We'll sign, I don't know, Justin Fields or whoever, and be like 6 wins, 5 wins, be bad, but then we're kind of all in 2026 when it's so early, supposedly the class a little better, whatever. But like then you can have you're taking all options into consideration at least. Whereas if you bring Joe Schoen back, I mean, there's just literally no way he could sit there with the top 2 pick and say, I don't know about a quarterback this year. Like he just couldn't do that. So then you're really pigeonholing yourself in. We've just seen from the last 6 years the downfalls of forcing a quarterback just because you need a quarterback. So yeah, like that again. That my case for getting rid of him, I think I've outlined. But then you'd have to make the case for why you keep him, and I feel like I can just poke holes so easily in those reasons because they're just not very compelling to me.
Right. All right. That's Dan Duggan of The Athletic. Go subscribe. I'm sure you'll have some juicy stuff coming out in this last month as we've unfortunately gotten too used to like the schedule of like, all right, this is the end of regime. This is the stuff that comes out. So we can always know what to expect. Appreciate you jumping on with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you, Dan Duggan, for joining. Good stuff there. And you know what else has some good stuff? Candlewick Diner. Today's episode is sponsored by Candlewick Diner, the go-to place for pre- and post-game meals during Giants game day. Last Giants game I was at, the 30-7 game against the Bucs. We all went afterwards. Got Candlewick Diner. Had a great time amongst friends. It's early supporter of the show. They're great. It's truly the best diner in New Jersey, in my opinion. 55 years in East Rutherford, serving Giants fans for over 5 decades. And it's also like more of a Giants place than a Jets. I've never seen a Jets fan in there. I've seen a bunch of Giants jerseys. And I'm not talking just about Giants games, like when I just go there on a weekend when I'm up there for camp and stuff. We're excited to announce that they will be catering Talking Giants, or that they catered all the Talking Giants tailgates this year. They did a really good job of that. They're located a mile up the road from MetLife. They have a full-service bar, in-house bakery, and free delivery. Extensive menu from breakfast to burgers to steaks to pasta, which I think I've had all of that. I don't think I've tried the steak yet, but I've had a burger there. I've had breakfast, which I usually go breakfast, and then I know I've had some pasta there as well. So they got it all. We really appreciate Manny and Candlewick Diner. When you go there, we don't have like a promo code. Just tell them Talking Giants sent you.
Yes, please.
They like hearing that. So thank you, Candlewick Diner, as always. Hey, and you truly will be glad you did. We now welcome on to the show our weatherman, Jolly Olive. Jolly, what's the weather like? Are the Giants going to be able to complete a pass? Or are they going to go 0 for 17?
I mean, I got bad news, guys. There's also going to be wind on Sunday, which seems to be the kryptonite for the New York Giants.
I know. It's not like we've been a franchise like historically known for having home games with wind.
Right. This is a new beast that the Giants have to conquer.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be mid-40s, a very gray day, even though it is a day game, cloudy day, and of course those 10-mile-per-hour winds, potentially 11-mile-per-hour winds that they'll have to overcome.
Do you think Thomas McGahee is going to, the winds are going to be all right with the racetrack coming down and all that
ever
stuff?
Since that racetrack left, we can't catch punts.
Yeah, the wind is so uncontrollable. I wonder if I'm going to be able to find the stadium amongst all the gray.
If nothing else,
over under 20 passing attempts for each team.
For each team?
Yeah, I think under for both.
I would say under, yeah.
I think Tommy DeVito's at quarterback. Over. I don't know.
What's the weather like, though? What's the official weather?
Mid-40s, very gray day, cloudy day, winds up to 10 miles per hour.
All right, I could deal with that. Mid-40s, I can deal with.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. What do we got for trivia this week, Jolly Olive?
Trivia is a little bit different this week.
Mhm.
We're not just going through game history this week because there's actually a lot of alignment between these two teams, the New York Giants and your Baltimore Ravens. So I'm going to ask you guys, I would like you to name me the quarterback, the running back, the wide receiver, and the tight end that have played the most cumulative games for both the Giants and the Ravens. I will say they had to have caught a pass at least once for both these teams to qualify.
So repeat that again.
Sure. I want you to name me the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end that have played the most cumulative games at their position for both the Giants and the Ravens. So if player X played 10 games for the Giants and 20 games for the Ravens, that's 30 games total.
They had to play on both teams.
Yes.
But they had to actually play.
Yes, they had to actually play.
Oh, Josh
in the game.
Johnson doesn't count. Okay.
Right. That's a great example.
Boy, quarterback.
One receiver?
One receiver.
One. Okay, got it.
There's a fun tidbit that I'll tell you after. No point loss for any incorrect answers. This the maximum of 4 points is what you can get.
Oh, God, there was a quarterback.
And all four of these names you guys definitely know.
Oh, damn. I was thinking running back. I was thinking Buck Allen, which is a quarterback, running back, tight end, and wide receiver. I'm going to do really bad this week. The quarterback is driving me crazy, and we don't have much to choose from here. I mean, Locke DeVito, no.
Ironically enough, Kevin Zeitler is a good answer for this.
Yeah.
And you didn't include offensive lineman.
Right. JPP was also pretty big up there. Yeah.
Right.
But, that was too easy.
Great.
I mean, I don't want to go with the easy ones, do I?
God, there's a backup quarterback.
Oh, damn, but you say the name we know. All right, I think I know the tight end.
Okay. And, text me your answers as per usual.
The wide receiver. These are all names we know, though, so the tight end that I have in my head doesn't make sense.
These are all names you know.
Wide receiver. Dude, this is legit.
Duh. I got the quarterback.
Okay.
I need a running back and a tight end.
I mean, Kerry Collins never played for the Ravens.
No, he never did. Titan.
I don't think Eli Manning did.
No, I don't think Eli did either.
If I had to guess.
Yeah.
The quarterback is easy. I'm such an idiot. All right, so I got quarterback. Give us like a countdown because this is driving me crazy. Like,
all right, I'm gonna give you 30 more seconds, but I'm gonna count mentally until I get to 10.
I've been spending too much time on quarterback, running back. Wide receiver. Oh my gosh, the wide receiver is way too easy. That's no duh. Running back.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
I don't have a tight end.
3, 2, 1. Bobby, I'll need your text.
So did Justin send a text?
Justin has sent his text.
All right, I'll just say mine out loud. The quarterback is Tyrod Taylor.
That is correct.
Wide receiver is Odell.
Yes.
Tight end, I'm just going to say Eric Tomlinson.
So that one's not correct.
Okay. And then running back, I'll go Buck Allen.
And that is correct. So you got 3 points.
That's correct?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I didn't think people knew, but Buck Allen played for the Giants. He scored a touchdown. I was at that game against the Dolphins.
Nicely done.
Eli's last start. That was like because you said you know the name, so it got me off Buck Allen.
Penik submitted 3 names. He said OBJ, which was correct. Tyrod Taylor, which was correct. Bobby Rainey was the second running back. He was right there.
I said Bobby Rainey is the third one.
Neither you got the tight end. It was a guy who played for the Giants from 92 to 97, Aaron Pierce.
Yeah,
I would have never gotten that.
just on a lot of Giants teams, so I figured you might have had a shot at knowing him. The fun fact here is that David Tyree technically has more games played than OBJ at wide receiver for both these teams, but he never caught a pass for the Ravens.
Right.
Played 10 games there, never caught a pass.
Yeah,
he's a special teamer.
Yep. So there you go.
People forget he caught a touchdown as well as the helmet catch. And he has the same birthday
Bobby,
as Eli Manning.
You gained a point. You're up 25-21 now.
Shit.
Time winding down. The jersey is within his grasp.
How about that? How
about that?
Can we... I was thinking maybe changing the award to the loser has to pay for the Tony Award.
Oh.
I can do that.
Now that you're ahead by 4.
Yeah. Can I expense the Tony Award stuff, right?
I 100% think that you can.
Okay, then we're good.
I think that's a fair thing to expense.
All right, then I'll take the jersey. All right, time for fantasy, which is getting down to the wire. Jolly was saying, "Oh, you hate my team." Well, it took last place last week with 27.5 points.
Tracy had a tough game. Come on.
He's back 72.9 points. I was like convincing myself that you might be able to get back in until I saw your team.
Still winning spread picks.
Justin won last week, had 42 points. I had 35. He's 12.5 points back of the lead with 4 weeks to go.
What a comeback.
Brian.
Jolly, you are picking first. Who we picking first? Derrick
What
Henry.
a week to have the first pick. I will be selecting King Henry. Thank you.
I mean, if anything, it plays defense against Bobby, which I need at this point too.
That's very beneficial for you.
Yeah.
But the 3-4 is kind of tough this week.
Yeah.
I have a plan.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Mark Andrews second. He hasn't had the best year this year. But here's the thing: the guy that the Giants have put in tight ends on man coverage a lot, Tyler Newman, is out for the season. And you're going to have Dane Belton, and they're going to see the way Foster Moreau fucking bullied Dane Belton, and they're going to look to do some of that. So I'm just going to go Mark Andrews with the second pick.
He kind of sold me on that. I'm not going to lie. Plus, DeVito at quarterback instead of Locke.
DeVito at quarterback makes it hard to pick any New York Giant.
I know.
I know they're going to force
my board
feed
is all Ravens.
Malik Neighbors, but still, that's tough. Like, you're basically just betting on no touchdowns.
All right.
I thought you were going to get a Tracy Andrews 3-4. Feel good about that.
I am going to go Tracy to pick the Giant first.
I have Tyrone Tracy 8th on my big board. Number one run defense in the
Bobby's
NFL.
still going to get Neighbors, isn't he?
And then I'm going to go with Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I think that's the right pick.
Listen, I'm going with Tracy simply because he's going to get touches, and he could even get dump offs in the receiving game. Which even this game for the Ravens, this is a tough game to draft for the Ravens too, because of if this could be a blowout, then you don't know who's necessarily going to get the ball in that blowout. So I made my 2 picks.
That's fair. But Tyrone Tracy's only had 110 rushing yards. Now, with Drew Lock in the end of the half, they ran 4 verts, and he got like 5 check down passes just by doing that on the film, bro. But I had Tyrone Tracy 8th. So I will go third on my big board. I don't feel great about it, again, because he's a New York Giant. But I will go Malik Neighbors. I think if you got Malik Neighbors in the second round, you kind of got to roll with that.
Tyrone Tracy's had 19 and 14.5 fantasy points the last 2 weeks. Just realize that.
There you go.
Like I said, he got those dump down catches when they were running 4 verts with Lock. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they do that again. Jolly, who you got back-to-back picks?
Yeah, I'm sticking Ravens. I mean, the top 5 went just not in the order I thought. I'm taking Rashad Bateman. And then I'll also take Isaiah Likely just because I feel like if the Ravens go up big, they might feed him some touches. He had 5 catches last week, so I'll take him.
This is a huge pick, whatever Bobby does next.
So that actually went with my my big board, Jolly. So I like those 2 picks.
Thanks, man.
I think this guy can have an amazing game.
Don't do it.
Because he gets receiving yards and they're doing a blowout. I would have thought about it. I honestly, if you took Malik Neighbors, Justin, like he was kind of in that same clump. I mean, I'm going Justice Hill.
Yeah, I think Bobby just won. I think Bobby just won the week.
Yeah, I think I just won the league.
I still like my picks. I wouldn't sub either.
This is the best I've
Hill.
felt about your team in a while, Jolly, and I haven't even seen your 4th pick. But I'm going to go Justice Hill. Justin, you got your back-to-back picks.
Shit. Now
you're screwed. This is where the drop off begins.
You picked Likely?
I took Likely, yeah.
Yeah. Did you pick him second or third, Jolly?
Third.
Okay.
Pick Bateman second.
Okay. All right. I thought I got that right. All right. Justin, back-to-back picks.
Wandale.
Yeah, maybe you get some force feed stuff.
Singletary or Slayton?
Oh, yeah, I have back-to-back.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was good.
I mean, Nelson Aguilar's 13 catches on the year. Can I take Lamar's rushing yards? Yeah. Daniel Bellinger. Let's go Giants.
That was next on my big board. So you went according to the big board too, Justin. So
Yeah.
I don't feel good about it because
No, I don't feel good about it either.
The draft falls off, but you did at least do the right decisions. So Slayton has not gotten shit since Daniel Jones went down. But what a little pussy, not wanting to get yards. When they let go of Daniel Jones, how dare a player want to better himself? I you know what? I'm gonna go. There's no good picks. I'll just go Darius Slayton. Maybe. This sucks. All right, Darius Slayton, and again, like you could take the Ravens' third wide receiver, but they're not going to be throwing the ball a ton in this game, and he doesn't get a lot of yards anyways. Jolly.
Singletary, just because I just feel like the Giants will have no
over
passing
Nelson
game.
Aguilar.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to go up really quick, and they're not going to throw the ball that much.
Singletary did get a touchdown in the Giants' last blowout loss against the Bucs,
Right.
so
You
that
never
could
know.
work for you.
Injury, if something like that happens.
Have you ever seen the clip of like the fire in Philadelphia, and the guy like was caught a child they threw out the window, and he was like, "I caught it." Unlike Nelson Aguilar, one of my favorite videos ever. Just how insane.
No, my favorite is there was like some like man on the street thing, and there was like these two random girls, and he was like, "Name any 3 athletes," and she's like, "Derek Jeter, Aaron Judge, Nelson Aguilar." It's like, what the fuck? You know what I'm talking about? It makes me laugh every time I see it.
What year was that from?
I don't know. It was when he was an Eagle, so it was a while ago.
Yeah, so it was an Eagles-Yankees fan is what it was, but that's funny. Nelson Aguilar. Oh, my gosh. All right, time for Giant Factors, where we pick our X Factor for the game. Jolly, you're up first this week.
Yeah, this one was easy for me. Chris Manhertz. You can become the only Giants tight end with multiple touchdowns this year. Be a Giant Factor.
What do you think about that?
I don't care. I'm pulling up my Giant Factor real quick. So this guy did not get activated last week, so... What the fuck just... No.
You have a bit planned?
I do have a bit planned, and I screwed up.
Oh, wait.
About mine. His twin brother was suspended this week, and he won't play against the Giants. Oh my God, it's not low. I'll go Deontay Johnson again. My phone just crashed.
I liked what you had planned there. I saw
I was just gonna play my Giant Factor from last week, and my phone crashed. So
okay, so I don't mind my Chris Manhertz thing because he was literally repeating it.
I also did predict. I was like, "Are we sure Deontay Johnson's going to be even activated?" And lo and behold,
I was like, "Why would they activate him not to play him?" Well, it's because the season's over.
Well, because they're dumb. I don't know, man. Like, Giant Factor.
Tim Boyle?
No.
See if you can get in the game.
Dude,
No.
I think there's like a legit shot of that happening.
I was gonna say, I thought about him as like, let's get a 4 QB season.
Like, it's 7 minutes and 24 seconds left in the second quarter that Tim Boyle's going to come in.
Dude, I'm so proud that I got the Buck Allen.
That was really good. When you
thing, right?
said it and then didn't go with it, I was like, damn. He's gonna be really
what's
sad.
I guess it's for some reason I was literally thinking about that Buck Allen touchdown like a week ago. Like it's so weird. That's funny.
Hold on.
Doug Analytics in the chat saying Brandon Stokely would have been a good answer for wide receiver, but
He was up there too. I think
Yeah.
he was third with Tyree and OBJ.
Tyrod was so easy. It's just you forget Tyrod was on the
Yeah,
Ravens
when you
for a
were
little
thinking
bit.
QB, I was like, really? You don't know? Like that was supposed to be him and OBJ
again,
with the
I went-
layups.
I just forgot about it.
Yeah, I get it. It's a backup QB.
Elijah Chapman, go out there, be a Giant Factor. Get more than 1 sack on the season. Be a UDFA story that, actually be a positive this year.
He killed Cesar Ruiz last week.
You went out there, you killed, you did well against the run. Go out there, maybe embarrass a bad guard on the Ravens. Be a giant factor, Elijah Chapman. There you go.
Be a giant factor, Elijah Chapman. All right, it's time for spread picks. Before we get into spread picks, who are they brought to us by, Jolly?
They are brought to you by Mando because their 72-hour formula keeps you fresh even on those non-stop days, like when you're playing and getting reps in the wind. While you're judging gift lists, long lines, and family gatherings, Mando has got you covered. No reapplying necessary. Their starter pack, perfect gift for the holidays, guys. If you're looking for a holiday gift and you got a smelly relative or a smelly friend, well, get them some Mando. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. And best of all, we also have a discount code on top of all of that. Code Talkin' Giants, the name of this here show. No spaces, no apostrophes, so don't get it twisted, just the letters. 40% off your starter pack use at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Code Talkin' Giants. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. We would really appreciate it. It goes a long way. Plus, your family and friends will thank you. Thank you, Mando. You'll be glad you did.
Remember that one day at the warehouse where I smelled?
Yeah, you smelled pretty bad that day. I had to ask you to sit a little bit further away. Come on.
And needed Mando real bad that day.
Well, it's good. We were working hard, running around.
Yeah.
I was watching a Stapleton 42 video yesterday about touring Bill Davis's old garage, and his Mando was his sponsor. I was like, hey, we're so much alike. Stapleton 42. Shout out them. Speaking of bits, the Bill Belichick, the athletic director at UNC, when they did their press conference, cut off the sleeves of his suit jacket.
Wait, this clip literally just popped up in my feed now.
Do you think Bill regretted the decision? I don't know what to think of Bill Belichick going to UNC.
I don't like it. And I don't know why.
Why don't you like it?
You know why it happened.
Not him.
I don't think he was going to get an NFL job.
It's just not him.
You think it's like a legacy thing? That's why you don't like it?
No, I just... Why?
I didn't think he wanted to get turned down in head coaching cycles 2 years in a row.
I think he also wanted to set up his son with a pretty good gig.
That is also
I think
true.
that's probably a big factor in it.
Like he leaves and then he all right,
that's part of the guarantee.
My son is either going to be the head coach of this team or he's going to have like a really good role.
Yeah. If I was Steve though, I kind of wouldn't love that though.
No,
I'm coaching at University of Washington. Let me find my own way, Dad.
It's legitimately the definition of nepotism.
Yeah, I mean, like it's in contract nepotism.
That's why the Giants love Bill Belichick so much. Is that they love nepotism.
Yeah. See the article that said, Bill Belichick partially wouldn't be interested in the Giants job because because he still thinks that Brian Daboll is the guy to right the ship. That's partially why he wouldn't be interested in the Giants job.
Hey, he's supporting his guy. Listen, you're never going to make me dislike Bill Belichick, even though I didn't want him for the Giants. Like, he's a football hero. But again, when you put Michael Lombardi in any role, it's like that guy's like just kind of dumb.
No. Yeah, he's
obnoxiously dumb. All right, let's do spread picks. Last place, me, 50 and 61. But I did gain a game on the listeners. I'm only one game back. They're 51 and 60 after a 2-5 week. Justin and Jolly both 4 and 3, so Jolly remains in first place at 60 and 51, and Justin is 57 to 54. Thursday night football. Rams at 49ers -3. Jolly, you're in first place. Who do you got?
Hey, Jolly, check my hand. We're tied.
I mean,
we tied last week. We tied last week.
Still anyone's game.
The listeners represented by Liam Sheehan are going Rams +3. Who do you got?
Liam Sheehan
Jolly?
again?
Got my pick. Yeah, I'm also going Rams +3.
Yeah, the listeners are doomed if Liam Sheehan's going again. I thought he was a smart guy. Tanked the listeners the last time that he picked.
Was he the 1-7 week?
There's been 2 1-7 weeks and then 2 2-5 or 2 6 weeks.
I mean, it was Liam Sheehan and
so
Danny
they're feast or famine, the listeners.
Give me blah 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 blah.
Just make a pick.
F it. Give me the 49ers.
Okay.
You just gonna go opposite me every pick this week? Okay.
Rams. I got Rams +3. Dolphins at Texans -3. Justin, what do you got on this one?
Dolphins.
Jolly?
I'm going Texans -3.
Wow.
Yeah, I know the Texans haven't been super hot lately, but I just
think the Dolphins are so bad.
Yeah, and they got to get it figured out. So listeners are going Texans. I'm going Texans as well. All right, we got Steelers at Eagles -5.5. This spread makes me go like, oh man, that's a big spread. These teams are both good. Take the points. But you know what? I think the Eagles are going to win by 7 points exactly. So I'm going to go Eagles minus 5.5. The listeners are going to go Steelers. Jolly, where are you going?
Yeah, I got Steelers to cover. I was surprised at this number for sure. I think the Eagles are the better team, and it'll be a good game, but I think it's going to be closer than 7 points.
Yeah, I think it could be, a tie game at the end. I just think the Eagles will end up winning by 7. Justin, what do you got?
Steelers cover.
All right. Let's see who the real horse is. We got Colts at Broncos minus 4. The Broncos are going to win. They're going to cover the spread, and Seth the Flow's going down. I wish the Giants were good, because when we played the Colts, I would definitely shit talk Seth the Flow, and Colts fans would get all mad. But I would be the first opposing fan base podcast of like fuck this guy, even though he's really nice. Broncos minus 4. Justin, who do you got?
Well, I mean, this is the song that he sang in the preseason, so I wonder if he's going to change
who
it.
the real horse is.
But I wonder if he's going to... This is the first one. I wonder if he's going to change it. Broncos cover.
Remember when we played the Broncos, Justin, and we had the Good Morning video that we never put out?
Oh, that was bad.
That's what, if we played the Colts this year, I would just quote tweet Seth the Flow's video with that video.
Yeah, that was... I mean, that was a Julian, Bobby, and Justin executive decision to not put out that video.
I mean, I knew I wasn't putting that one out, but when I sent that in the group chat, I just...
Yeah.
Can't stop. I mean, even the one we put out was Joe Judge and Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders, yeah, shooting the horse. Yeah.
What'd you pick, Justin?
Broncos.
Jolly.
Broncos win by 2 scores.
Wow, clean sweep. Bills at Lions minus 2.5. Well, I'm surprised this spread is this close with the Lions at home. Lions minus 2.5. Maybe this is the game the Bills win and everyone bets Lions, and that's where Vegas makes their money. But I'm going Lions minus 2.5. Listeners are as well. Justin, what do you got?
I'm going Lions as well.
Jolly?
I'm happy to announce it's an opportunity for everyone to gain ground on me or for me to gain ground on everyone. I have the Bills going to Detroit, snapping the streak, and it's going to be good for the Lions because it'll be a nice reality check before the playoffs that they have to stay locked in.
Dude, you're like a perfect Lions fan. Like this loss is actually good for us,
yep.
Which is fair.
That's how I'm spinning it.
I don't think that's the one. Totally teams that happens to teams. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
No, because I feel like if they ride a winning streak to the playoffs, I have a bad feeling about it.
Yeah. Bucks at Chargers minus 3. Jolly, what do you got in this one?
I have the Bucks winning this game, so I'm going to go with them.
Justin, yourself?
I love the Bucks. Give me the Bucks.
Myself and the listeners who aren't doing well disagree. We're going to go Chargers minus 3. And then we have Packers at Seahawks plus 2.5. What about this one, Justin?
Packers. I'm a big Packers guy this time of year. Just this time of year.
Listeners are going Seahawks. I'm going Packers. Jolly, who do you got?
Packers looked pretty good against Detroit last week, so I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, they did. All right, Bears at Vikings minus 6.5. 2 Monday Night Football games. Kind of bullshit, right?
And one's just clearly better than the other.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We'll be paying attention to the other one because of the Giants.
You're going to watch Vikings Bears?
Oh, wait, you think Vikings... You think Raiders Falcons is better than Vikings Bears?
Oh, I was thinking Packers Seahawks. That's Sunday night. Jeez, I was like, wait. I was like, how are you guys disagreeing with me?
Bears at Vikings minus 6.5. Dude, if you're an interim team and you get blown out, it's over. You're not built for it. Vikings minus 6.5. Listeners, minus 6.5. Justin, how about you?
Oh, Vikes. No. Bears cover.
Oh, perfect. That's great news.
Yeah.
I need that point. I will go Vikings to destroy the Bears. You guys are now, 1 for 3 on your interim head coach golden rule? What's going on? You
I think we're 2 for 3. And it's not just this year. Again,
Jets and Bears.
No, but they hired the wrong coach.
That's not what you said when you told me the rule.
But here's the thing: we don't say it happens every time. It's just it's a lifelong rule that you'll come out on top if you do that.
I think I went Bears last week optimistically, and they just looked absolutely dreadful. Right. So I'm never picking
Bears fans. This time last week, we're talking about what Thomas Brown would have to do to stay the head coach, and then they got blown out.
What was do you know the
they
yard
never learn. Like
half?
Chicago fans, like they and I love the Bears. They never learn. What were you saying,
the yard differential at half, I think, was like 200 to like 10 or something. Something ludicrous. I think it was like the lowest and the highest of the season.
Whole lot of Luda. All right, score predictions. Jolly. Ravens at Giants, 1 o'clock. Bring your planes, bring your signs, bring your bags, do whatever you want. What's your score prediction?
The Giants show some promise, but the wind proves to be too much. Also, the wind brings down a plane onto the field, and there will be a 2-hour delay in the middle of the game, giving all the advantage to the Ravens. They win 28-3.
That wouldn't be fun.
No.
You have to like evacuate the field.
Right. No one gets hurt.
Don't say that.
No one gets hurt.
That's a crazy thing to predict. You're like suspect number 1.
You guys talk about burning down the stadium all the time. Why is the line getting drawn here?
That's different.
What do you mean? More people could get hurt if you burn down the stadium with people in it.
26.
Yeah, but that's funny.
That's crazy.
26-6 Ravens.
Okay.
They probably score more.
Ravens 77, Giants 0. We'll see you on the next one. Until then, let's go Big Blue.